According to translegislation.com, in 2023, 600 anti-trans bills were considered in the United States. Of those 600, 87 of them passed. From the start of 2024 to today, March 30th, there have been 579 bills considered in the United States, 38 of which have passed. Trans and queer communities have been battling discrimination throughout pretty much all of human history, but especially today, trans people are being systematically oppressed and discriminated against. I don't think I'm the only one that has noticed a sharp uptick in violence and discrimination towards the trans community. And on October 30th, 2023, in the 2022 FBI hate crime statistics, Justice.gov stated that a significant increase of 40% was observed in reported anti-transgender incidents, totaling 338 compared to 2021. After research on the topic and its historical context, I can confidently say that the LGBTQ community is being attacked and needs assistance. First, I will talk about the harmful rhetoric that is being used on trans people today, how it is affecting the education sphere. Then I will talk about how similar points have been used against other marginalized communities in the past. In fighting anti-LGBTQ grooming rhetoric by the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence, they describe grooming as a tactic commonly used to abuse children in which somebody methodically builds a trusting relationship with a child, their family, and community to manipulate, coerce, and force the child to engage in sexual activities. This article also goes on to later provide research and evidence for how LGBTQ plus people are no more likely to be pedophiles than straight people, but are in fact more likely to be targets of sexual abuse than their straight peers. This false connection created by anti-trans media both provides an environment that will make having violence towards trans people more common and more prolific, and will also take away attention from people who are getting actually sexually abused and groomed. The rhetoric that has been used to attack trans people has caused ripple effects in many parts of the country. One such way that this rhetoric has affected the country at large is with education. One of the more topical examples of this is the Don't Say Gay bills that were introduced in Florida. In the article, Here's What Florida's Don't Say Gay bills would do and what it wouldn't do, written on March 16th, 2022, by Martha Asensio Ryan, they provide important clarification. In its preamble, the bill's authors write that the aim is to prohibit classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity, but later the actual bill states that the classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur. This bill has problems for many reasons, one of which being its loose definition of what instruction means, and the fear in the community is that this would prohibit the ability for trans and queer teachers to be present at schools because they would have to explain themselves to their students. There are many bills like this passing in the education sphere, many of which are prohibiting the ability for self-expression without the notification of school personnel or parents, which makes it more dangerous for students to express themselves without fear of retaliation. We can see how this kind of rhetoric affects LGBTQ plus people today, but this kind of rhetoric and action against marginalized communities is not uncommon in American history. During the Jim Crow era, there were many restrictions placed on black men because they were seen as brutish and were seen as being prone to attack and sexually abuse white women specifically. In a quote from the Jim Crow Museum, in an article titled "The Brute Caricature," one racist author writes, "When a knock is heard at the door, a white woman shudders with nameless horror. The black brute is lurking in the dark, a monstrous beast crazed with lust. His ferocity is demoniacal. A mad bull or tiger could scarcely be more brute. A whole community is frenzied with horror, with the blind, furious rage for vengeance. With depictions like this in media, it's easy to see how the caricature of a black man being sexually abusive and predatory towards white women was proliferated in order to oppress them and keep them seen as dangerous and scary. By looking at all these examples, we can see a pattern of using harmful rhetoric involving sexual violence to oppress and marginalize communities. It is crucial to recognize and challenge these prejudices in order to create a more inclusive and just society for everyone. We are seeing the same things that have been repeated in history happen today. We should do everything we can to stop this from happening continuing on for longer. Continue to educate yourself and your peers on the problems that marginalized communities experience, and maybe we could have a better future.